And it's my honor now to introduce our next speaker, a scholar and hoopster extraordinaire for the student speech for the class of 22. I'd like to bring up Neel Dutta Gupta.
Got to move these microphones up a little bit first. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the class of 2022, I would like to welcome all parents, teachers, administrators, families, alumni, and distinguished guests to the 64th commencement ceremony of Singapore American School. First of all, I want to say that it is amazing to be with everyone here in person at this very moment. It's been a long time coming, and I am so happy that we can experience this wonderful day together. So a big shout out to Miss V and her team for making all of this happen. Class of 2022, we did it. Contrary to popular belief, after a long 4 years of dress code violations, late homework assignments, tardies, and verified absences, we all stand here today as well-deserving graduates of Singapore American School. It's most definitely fair to say we have grown immensely here at our time at SAS. Mentally, physically, spiritually, socially, and emotionally, we stand here today as more evolved versions of ourselves. More importantly, we also all stand here as proud members of our respective houses, Ethon, Aquila, and Andor, and as proud abiders of the SAS dress code. But let's go back to freshman year, before the house system or dress code dominated our lives. To put it into perspective, when we started high school, we started at the very bottom, but now it looks like the whole team's here. As ninth graders, we were at the bottom of the food chain, the lowest level of a trophic cascade. Shout out Mr. Early. Back then, high school was so much more polarized than it is today, and we both definitely had to suffer immensely more compared to the easy lives underclassmen live now. I still remember sitting down to work on one of Doug Basie's long world history assignments, only to be hit by a waffle on the back of my head, thrown from one of the seniors on the top floor of the cafeteria. But waffles were only the tip of the iceberg. I had seen eggshells, bread loaves, ketchup bottles, and even live lizards thrown from the top floor. But despite all the projectiles which were launched our way, we persevered, and we got through freshman year and transitioned one level further up the trophic cascade. Then came sophomore year. Sophomore year is a weird time in high school because we're still underclassmen, but at the same time, we're also not ninth graders either. In many ways, sophomore year is a starting block for us to launch ourselves into the more important years of high school. Because of the unique time it comes at, sophomore year was also the year that we were encouraged to set goals for ourselves for the rest of high school. I still remember going to the advisory lesson where we learned what SMART goals were: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound goals. In that lesson, as my friends wrote down goals about their target GPA, their university hopes, and extracurricular achievement goals, I only wrote down a single goal. That goal was to get a girlfriend before the end of high school. Unfortunately, now that I'm at the end of high school, I can confirm that that goal was not achieved. But more than goal setting, sophomore year was a year of growth, the adolescence of our adolescents, if you will. We got our first taste of IASIS, red bags, pep rallies, assemblies, DEI, beef fried rice, what it means to be an ally, and so many more amazing things. We began to understand what high school was actually about, which gave us a strong foundation to launch ourselves into the lives of upperclassmen. When sophomore year came to a close, I had confidence that high school was something we could get through together. After sophomore year, we became juniors, the most hardworking and sleepless students in high school. We came back to school in August 2020 with half of our faces covered, but twice the academic ambition. We all accepted our fates that we would probably only sleep 3 to 4 hours a night because of the workload we had been imposed upon us. In math classes, we learned about various theorems: the intermediate value theorem, the Pythagorean theorem, and obviously the Ganakis theorem. In economics, Mr. Clifford and the ultimate review packet taught me how to draw 17 different graphs for the AP exam. But also, high school started to become a little more cutthroat, and tests and grades became almost all that we talked about. More importantly, junior year was especially tough for me because I couldn't play lunch basketball, which made me contemplate the purpose of me even coming to school in the first place. But also, junior year created distance. We could only meet with 5 of our friends on the weekends. We couldn't play sports games and participate in physical conventions. And the commonplace events that we had taken for granted as underclassmen had suddenly been snatched from us. Plus, we still had all of the same academic pressure piled upon us as in previous years, but with limitations on our social life. But somehow, some way, we stuck it through it all that came our way, and we got closer to the promised land, senior year. Senior year, wow, what a ride. After 3 long years of school-induced stress, we had made it to the end of high school, a time where we could call ourselves the apex predators in this trophic cascade. When I came back to school in August 2021, I was excited. As a senior, and more importantly, as a 6'5" senior, I couldn't wait to impose myself on high school and act like royalty alongside the rest of my classmates. But when we came back to school in August 2021, the kingdom over which we were supposed to preside was going through many changes. The library in construction, the Apex in construction, the sports fields in construction. The school had also transitioned from Ho Brothers to Sodexo. Also, the cafeteria, the fabled place where we would be able to sit in those top floor seats for the first time, had also changed. Lunch was now split over 2 blocks. Our principal had also changed, with Mr. Lee departing the school, ushering in a new era under Ms. Veltze. We had arrived to senior year as royalty to an environment that was continuously changing. But I think we were all too distracted to notice. College admission season was amidst, and everyone was scrambling to finish their essays on time. College counselors transformed from that teacher you were forced to meet into your very best friend. And with their help, we made it to the end of first semester and on to better things, second semester senior year. When the second semester came around, we could see the finish line that we stand at today. 2022 also meant the relaxation of restrictions, and for one of the first times in a long time, our social lives became relatively free. We could have sports games, drama performances, MUN conferences, cultural conventions, and so much more. We also began planning and going on our senior spring break trips to Australia, Europe, Korea, the cruise, and obviously, Koh Samui. Spring break was a blast, regardless of where we were in the world, but we also had so many more amazing events. We had a red party for the first time in 2 years. We were able to hold a one-off senior prank. We made a class lip dub, and for the first time in 3 years, Eenie Meenie grew into our class song, courtesy of Zach Helzer, Min Jae Cha, and Isabella Wesson. We later sang Eenie Meenie as a class at the senior lunch, thanks to Mr. Capel and Mr. Hughes DJing. We experienced the streets of Singapore while riding on top of a double-decker bus. We crowd-surfed Kai Lindenberg and Matthew Barsky. We were cheered on by the rest of high school during our senior walk. For the first time in a long time, as I said before, I felt like a high school student. And more importantly, college admission season was essentially over, so most of us were very calm. We were in the home stretch now. Time had passed so fast that I could barely realize it. The years prior felt so long when we went through them, but for now, this quarter, everything felt like a blur. We had become soon-to-be graduates before we had even realized it. The iconic moments of high school had blended together to become part of the legacy we leave behind. In addition to the iconic moments, there were so many moments that I took for granted that I never truly realized I was going to miss. I never thought I would miss listening to Mr. Price's voice talk for hours about the kinetic molecular theory. I never thought I would miss walking up to the high school steps every morning, only for Miss Veltze to see me arrive late once again. I never thought I would miss hanging out in the library with my friends as much as I did, even though some of us were asked to leave by head of house John Gaskell a few weeks before school ended. I miss everything about high school, from the 6 a.m. morning practices to the Albert I.O.s and web-assigns late at night. I don't know why, but I miss it, and I know it's the same for most of you guys in this class. After we graduate, we'll all head our separate ways to university, national service, gap years, and beyond. I want to leave you guys with 2 messages that I think we have all learned here at our time at SAS. The first is this: try to enjoy every moment as it happens. I think we can all say we spent a lot of time in high school thinking about the past and hoping for the future, but never truly living in the moment. High school at SAS has given me some of the greatest experiences in my life, and I am so thankful for that. But I think I speak on behalf of our class in saying that we never really thought our graduation would come this quickly. It always seemed like a fantasy far in the future that would never really arrive. But now that it has, it's bittersweet. A lot of us never really appreciate these moments until they have passed. So let's try to appreciate this moment and so many more moments in the future. My second message is this: try to hold on to as many relationships from high school as you can. Being a student at SAS since kindergarten, I've seen so many of my friends move here and then leave here in my 13 years. People who could have become great friends have left, and it's been hard to maintain these relationships. In addition, most of my teachers have left as well. When I went back to the elementary school this past Wednesday, only one of my teachers was still there, my fourth grade teacher, Mr. Fabian. At this moment, we find ourselves at a unique crossroads in our life. All of us are leaving each other, and we won't come back to school as we have for the last decade. But what I don't want to fade away is the relationships we have built along the way. I encourage all of you to keep in touch with as many people as possible, no matter how hard this may be. Try and keep your group chats active, no matter what group you're a part of, be it the VAMS, dump truck, left side of cafeteria, or Panacea 22. You never know when it'll come in handy in the future. Maybe it'll help you find a job 15 years down the line. Maybe it'll help you find someone to go on vacation with. Maybe it'll help you find your future spouse. The relationships we have built have been amazing, so let's maintain them and continue to let them benefit us in the future. Class of 2022, we have been to amazing places, done amazing things, and made friends for a lifetime along the way. I am so glad for all the experiences we have shared, from all the highs of high school to all the lows of high school. It's been a phenomenal 4 years, and I couldn't have asked for any other group to graduate with. I'm sure many of you share the same sentiment. I love all of you guys, and without further ado, let's go ahead and graduate.